Well, it says we're live, and I'll be honest with you, I'm having more technical issues, but they're at my end, and I think I've got them resolved. So we've got a few people in the room, and I'll say hello. I am competing with the Indy 500 this morning or this afternoon, and I apologize for that. But last week I said I'd do a live stream today, so here I am. And here's the thing. I really wanted to do a live stream today regardless because, as several of you noticed and pointed out already, I crossed the 200,000 subscribers threshold on Friday, I believe it was. And I am still shocked by that number. Every time I cross a number, I remember that I started doing these videos just for the fun of it. And they're still fun to do, but I never imagined I'd have that many people who'd subscribe. So thank you very much to each and every one of you. I know that you guys are all subscribers and friends, by the way. I do consider you friends. So Donald Whittemore, Madam Lestrange, Tina Burgess, Paul Van Sant, Vord123, Joel Kirschman, Bob Blah Blah, and retired Butcher Boy, Willie Harrell. All good names I see all the time, and I appreciate that. Dave Beddoes, checking in from White Rock, BC. Boycat, I got your T-shirt in the mail yesterday. It'll be on a video shortly. Peter Mandix points out that it's a misty and chilly day in Lone Tree. I got 64 degrees and blue skies unlike anything you've ever seen before. Absolutely beautiful day here in southeastern Michigan. Bob mentions the chess game. I didn't catch it. I'll have to check that out. Ed McDonald, hello from Shreveport. David Phillips, heidi ho. Daniel Kester is here. Thank you for checking in, my friend, and I appreciate that. So a whole bunch of other people here. I appreciate all of you. And like I said, I started out just doing the podcast because I missed being on the radio. And then somewhere along the line, I started videotaping them. And here I am. 55 said, I'll tell stories from your time as a professor to celebrate 200,000. I don't have that many exciting stories as a professor. I'd have to think about it. There probably are a few, but nothing that crazy. If I can come up with anything, I will. Rob Van Ham, congratulations. Thank you very much. Keith E., hello from Maryville, Tennessee. A new home moving stinks. Are you talking about moving your own stuff? Or are we talking about the video a couple days ago where somebody had to move their home? I'm guessing you're talking about something you're going through right now. Richard Burke, hey, from New York. Appreciate that. Grumpy Australian, greetings from the land down under. David Phillips, congrats, Steve. Steve, congrats, Steve. And that Steve's not me, by the way. Kotex East to 200,000. By the way, as many of you know, I delivered the Detroit Free Press as a young man. And every now and then when I read a story from the Free Press, I'll say the paper I delivered as a young man. And the other day I read a story from the New Zealand Herald. And I didn't deliver that as a child. So I said, well, that's the New Zealand Herald, a newspaper I did not deliver as a young man. And I got an email from somebody who said, Steve, I thought that's pretty funny that you said that. So thank you for catching that. Oh, allocated brain. I just got done jamming in Joe's garage. Little Zappa. Gonna be a dental floss tycoon, my friend. George Lisi watching on my RV's TV. George, are you the one who sent me the photograph? Somebody sent me a photograph this past week of themselves watching me on the RV TV, the TV that was attached to the side of their RV, which somehow seems to be a real snake eating its tail kind of thing, because I often talk about RVs. David Smith, hi from Dorr, Michigan. D-O-R-R, Dorr, Michigan. I'm unaware of that place. Daniel Kester, how's the Canadian robot lady today? I'm not sure where she is right now, but I did chit-chat with her earlier today. We were talking about B.J. Thomas, the singer who did Hooked on a Feeling and Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, passed away recently. And we were discussing that. Whenever somebody famous in music is in the news, she and I often discuss it. Daniel Kester, are you properly hydrated? I will be. I've got water right here, the good old H2O. Duncan Campbell, hello, Steve from Melbourne, Australia. Congratulations on 200,000. Thank you. And Wild Bill 57, 200,000. Who'da thunk? And by the way, I'm also wearing my VinWiki shirt because VinWiki, Ed Bolian ran one of my stories this past week, which did help me. I mean, I pick up more subscribers every time I appear on his channel. So I think we've got 5 or 6 of my stories we've done so far. I shot 10 or 11, so there's more coming. Betty Boop says, have Canadian Robot Lady tell us Steve Lehto story. Oh, boy. Kotak Issa says it's 286K in Denver and rain, but that's 55 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you old school folk. G. Keyman 565, good afternoon from Mayville in the thumb of Michigan. I just picked up a set of 24 karat gold playing cards free to me. That's pretty cool. Mayville up in the thumb. Yeah, that one rings a bell. David Richard. Hey, Steve. Hey, David. How you doing, man? Alana Hammer. Yes, congrats. You deserve it. Love you, robot lady. Yeah, and by the way, you know what's funny is I remember at the very, very beginning, we've talked about this before, but Heather commented on one of my videos a couple of years ago and mentioned that she said, oh, I see you worked in radio, so did I. And so we started just corresponding back and forth. And I had gotten tired of the introduction I used to do that Johnny Knoxville used to make fun of, where I'd say, hey, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto, attorney at law in the state of Michigan. I've been practicing law for 27 years in the fields of consumer protection and law, and I've written a few books and magazine articles along the way. And I had that intro, like, boilerplated into my head, and I was getting sick of it. I thought, well, I got to have some way to introduce my show. I could just start talking, but that seemed wrong to me. So I contacted her and I said, hey, do you have access to recording equipment? Can you record something for me? She goes, sure, I do recording all the time, freelance voiceover work. I said, can you just do me an introduction? You know, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto. And so she cut me that intro and sent it to me. I put it on a couple of videos, and initially it was 50-50. Half the comments I got hated it. Steve, what's with that woman's voice? That's weird. And I had a bunch of people go, no, I love this. This is great, you know? And a bunch of people, however, said that computerized robot voice you've got at the beginning is horrible. Go back to what you were doing before. We don't want to hear a robot voice. And people kept calling her a robot. So that's where Canadian Robot Lady came from. And I had her record one that said, thank you for listening to Steve Lehto, Lehto's Law. And by the way, I'm not a robot. And so many people thought that was funny that led into us doing the endings on the videos. So for the few of you who don't know, at the end of every video is an outro, or an extra, as they call them in Canada, of Heather commenting on something, saying something, cracking a joke, passing along some wisdom, a little of everything. But she's become beloved to the point where I think her 10-second outro is just as popular as my 10-minute video. So I'm very, very pleased to have her as part of the program also. She's a credit to the organization, as I like to say. It's not me, 07. Canadian Robot Lady is wicked, awesome, and funny. Thank you. Robbie Zips putting out the call. That any other viewers in New Jersey? Any other viewers in New Jersey? If so, contact that man. Colin Lim, what VinWiki story? Can someone post a link? I did a video about the time my brothers and I pulled a Jeep out of a ditch while we were out mountain biking. If you go to VinWiki and simply look at his videos, they're listed in order. And it's a video that went up on Thursday or Friday. So it'll be there. And there's a picture of us pulling a Jeep out of a ditch. It's a whole story. Trust me, it's worth it. And by the way, I did actually get a very nice note from Ed Bolian of VinWiki fame, who also gave me the I can't drive 55 license plate, speed limit sign. And he said, Steve, just to let you know, the video you did about the Chrysler Turbine car a couple weeks ago just crossed 1 million views. 1 million views. And he said, it's the first video I put up this year that did that. So congratulations. So thank you. Good to be part of something like that. Across my entire channel to date, I've got one video over 1 million. It's got 2 million views. And then I've got 3 or 4 that are in the 7s or 8s, 700,000 or 800,000 views. But I'm just plugging away. I hit singles, not home runs. Home 62 benefits. Detroit area has had all 4 seasons in the last 3 days. Love the variety of weather. The only thing we haven't had in the last 3 days was snow. I mean, I had the air conditioning on this past week. It's the point. I mean, I needed it. And within 36 hours, had the heat back on, and actually was like digging stuff out. I actually put some stuff away, thinking, okay, winter's gone. Pulled it back out. So there you go. Just Call Me C is in South Jersey. Is that Gloucester County? I can't imagine you say Gloucester. 4-door. ZL1. Stevie. Grocer Mike says, by the way, that book on the Turbine car is great. Thanks for writing it. Hey, thanks for buying it. MKJO, I've shared the Turbine video. It's a great video. Thank you. Oh, boy. RJ Hikes, high was 57 yesterday in Louisville. Record low high temp. That's always funny when they talk about that. The high today was a record low high temp. But I know what you're saying. Oh, Fortis Huckleberry says the same thing in Wyoming. Just wait 10 minutes and it will change. STP World, I wonder if General RV will get in trouble. They seem to have some shady practices. Well, they're the ones who got in trouble for the smudged loan contracts out west. General RV, though, is based in Michigan, so I'm very aware of them. They've got a bunch of huge locations. Wixom, in particular, is quite large. They've got another location right up on Dixie Highway along I-75 and a few others, I think Birch Run. And they move a lot of units. I actually know the attorneys from them pretty well. Steve F68, I just sent you a video about a school board in Michigan getting a lady fired. Can't wait for your take. I saw the link. Thank you very much. I will take a look at that. Sean Huntley, Steve, 6,000 miles in 20 months on my folding e-bike. Well, you're riding it? Is it an e-bike in that it powers itself? It's interesting, a folding bike. JP checking in. Howdy from cloudy and cool Columbia, South Carolina. Thank you for checking in. Did you send me a note recently that you were in Hickory, North Carolina, home of the Hickory Motor Speedway, birthplace of NASCAR? It's a birthplace. They call themselves something about the cradle of NASCAR or something like that. But it's where all the NASCAR stars start out. D Wood, whenever the Turbine Car book comes up in car groups, I plug your chat. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Once again, it jumped on me, and I've missed a bunch of stuff here. I hate when that happens. John Doe 4880. Don't know if it's been discussed. I got here late, but what are your plans for Memorial Day? I don't have any plans. I'm doing a staycation. I'll stick around. Brian Ekdahl, what are your gas prices? $3.48 for unleaded. I think they're closer to $3, like $3.08, $3.10, something like that. I bought some this morning. I just wasn't paying attention. I actually had to get gas for my riding mower. I've got a riding mower. I had to get gasoline for it, so I brought the gas can and my vehicle to the gas station, and put the gas in the gas can, then in the car and the truck. And I wasn't paying attention to the prices. I was just moving the fuel around. So Tiger Man 99515. Any travel plans? You talk about New Zealand, Finland, and Australia. I could do all three of those, not in the same trip. Be a lot of flying. No, I don't have any immediate plans, and I wouldn't feel comfortable making plans right now for fear that we still don't quite know what's going on with respect to when everything's going to open back up again. So I'd really like to go to New Zealand. I'd really like to go to Finland, Australia as well. I'm not sure where I'd go to first unless they came up with some other excuse to go to one or the other. But I definitely want to see all three of those. I've been to Europe a few times, but never Finland, and obviously not to New Zealand or Australia. So David Richards, one of our trucker friends, drives an 18-wheeler. There you go. Sean Huntley, pedal assist. Yes, I am riding it. There you go. Okay. It's a lot of miles on a bike, by the way. Driving New England, gas here in New Hampshire is $2.69 to $2.89. So you probably have better gas taxes, lesser gas taxes than we do. Greg Bolton, enjoy your channel as well as the Vin Wiki stuff. Keep it up. Thank you. And thank you for checking in, my friend. Tigerman 99515, did you ground the gas can? Well, it was on the ground and it was a plastic gas can. And by the way, I've got one of those gas cans that when I went and bought it, it had the new EPA. This is the correct motion for it, by the way. This is what you have to do to supposedly get it to work. And you could not get gas to come out of it without pouring it all over your hands. And that EPA gas can is a nightmare. And I actually went back to the place I bought it, and I was livid. And the person behind the counter says, sorry, we're required to sell those, but if you want to, there's a thing over there that'll fix it. And you take the spout off, you throw it away, and you put a different spout on it, and they work. But for about half an hour, I wanted to hurt somebody. Kotaxista says travel tip is use Qantas. They've got a sale once a year celebrating their birthday with fares significantly cut. As I recall, according to Rain Man, Qantas is also fairly safe. Wasn't that the one? But yeah, I once flew British Air really, really cheaply because they had a special, I believe in the 100th anniversary of, I think the Wright brothers flight. I think it was in 2003, but that's been a while. Dave Beddoes knows what I'm talking about with the EPA cans. Think about this. They actually said, we want to get less fumes into the air. So we're going to have a spout that just pours gasoline all over the hands of the user. The stuff on my hands is going to vaporize. It's got to go someplace. So, you know. Diana Goodrich is throwing words at me that I probably can't pronounce. Once in a lifetime vacation with mom, including Mount Haleakala? Haleakalala? On Maui. The caldera was foggy, and we got the top 5 minutes later. We could see volcanic cones after a winding cliff drive. Cool. Yeah, I've never been to Hawaii. I've been to California, but not Hawaii. So Dave G1H says the gas cans are the result of a CPSC rule on safety. Really? I thought they were designed to lessen the fumage, because if they're safety, that's wrong too, because you get gasoline on your hands, and that can't be as safe as keeping it in the can or putting it where you want it to go. So whatever, whichever one it is, somebody screwed up bad. One of the worst inventions of our lifetime. Irving Briscoe says at this moment, gas is $5.20. Where? I think I missed your earlier comment, so I can't place the context of that. Or $1.30 a liter. Bob Long, bring back the jerry can. I had a jerry can on my deuce and a half. Put 5 gallons of diesel in there. And Mark Paul, consider a 20-hour marathon stream to celebrate 200,000 subscribers. Yeah, I just considered it, and I think I'm done. It's really tough to do more than an hour of live streaming, because if there's too much dead air or blank space, it worries me. So it makes me kind of try to keep my brain at a certain level of activity. And trust me, it would get really, really bad at about 3 hours. And it'd be painful to watch about 18. Mark Heil is a black market for replacement nozzles. Well, you can buy replacement nozzles. I don't think there was black market. I mean, I think they're just readily available. They call them something else. It's kind of like the test pipes for the catalytic converters back in the old days. But I seem to recall that I got my replacement nozzle at the same place that sold me the gas can. They just had them in different places, kind of like they were unrelated. ETIT says you can buy new vintage metal gas cans marketed as collectibles. That's funny. Fortis Huckleberry, I bet gas is cheap in Saudi Arabia. It probably is, but ironically, there's places that have a lot of oil where it's not that cheap. That's the old joke about Norway, where they make a lot of money off of oil, but then they encourage electric cars because they're too busy shipping the stuff overseas and selling it. So, allocated brain says I ride about 7,000 miles a year on my Raleighs. I have a Maceo 2 and a Cadent 3. You know, I had a Raleigh Grand Prix 10-speed when I was in high school. Bought it with my newspaper money. Cost me $149. Dark green. And very, very cool bike. I love that bike. Haven't had a road bike in a while. But Raleigh, at least at the time, made very, very nice bikes. I suspect they still do. It's one of those brands that's been around a while. So, Rubber Toe, gas is $3.09 here in the UP. Where in the UP? Please, you can't taunt me by saying you're in the Upper Peninsula and not telling me where. I know the UP very, very well. MVS, Northwest Colorado, gas is $3.38 a gallon. Rico Kemp, is there really a shortage of cars? I just left a dealership and they really didn't have any inventory. And yes, there is. And there's a couple things happening. One of which is a lot of the assembly lines are shut down right now because of chip shortages and other part shortages. There were also slowdowns because of labor shortages and shutdowns. And so because there were fewer cars being built at the new portion of the market, it drove used car prices up. And as a result of that, it trickled down through everything else. So there is a shortage of cars right now. I suspect if you could hang in for a little while longer, it's going to swing the other way. And as everything gets back up to speed, but, you know, it's a question of whether you need a car today or not. Ever in Transit 42, says Steve Lehto, you're a 200,000 air. Four-door ZL1, do you know anyone with a true 57 Bel Air? Not a 210 that they want to part with. I have a 427 LSX being built. LSX? 427? No, I don't. I don't know that many people who just have cars hanging around like that. I mean, you can search for things like that on the internet these days. It's a question whether you can find it or not. But get the word out. And obviously, if anybody in the audience has got a true 57 Bel Air, not a 210, please talk to four-door ZL1 about it. Irving Briscoe, they need to make cars run on plastic. That would solve a lot of problems. If they could run on carbon dioxide and emit oxygen, that would work really well too. Bill Van Ram, Harbor Freight actually sells a good metal jerry can, $44 on sale. I'll take a look at that. I'm a little hesitant when I see the name Harbor Freight. I just think of jack stands. But oh, jerry cans are cool. I need to get a couple. Well, you know, four-door ZL1 about whether or not you can search the internet, you'd be surprised how often people ask me questions where it took them longer to ask me the question than it would have taken to search it. So, Retired Butcher Boy, what are your thoughts about Consumer Reports ratings on automobiles? You know, that's a tough one. I have a problem with some of the things they used to do. Because one of the things that they used to do was simply ask people, like a survey, do you like your car? How do you like your car? And they would say that, you know, consumer satisfaction survey places this car at the top of the list. And they're assuming that all else is equal. And there are occasions where people will sometimes twist their answers depending on what they think they're being asked about. But it depends. They also will rate cars and say, well, you know, these cars have so many repairs per 1,000 or whatever, repairs per 100. So you always got to look at it and say, what are they actually rating here? Is it just people's preferences, or is it actual repairs, or so on? My father subscribed to Consumer Reports for years, but I haven't looked at one in a long time. Occasionally, I see them when they pop up in the news, but it's been a little while. Yeah, Irving Briscoe says trees run on carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen, so let's plant more trees. or develop engines that run like them. That would work. How old was the guy with the Jeep in the ditch? Hang on a split second here. Hang on a I'm back. Oh, boy. Well, it's not dead air if I announce it. Oh, boy. Bob Long, does Michigan allow the failure to assign voids this contract clause? I've never seen that before, but I'm not sure if they have a specific law on it or not. That's what I don't know. Because the idea that you can assign a contract to a third party is so fundamental in contract law. And I know people who don't agree with that, but it's true. So, for instance, that's one of the things that people don't understand about debts, is that if I lend you $100 and you agree to pay me back $100 and you don't pay me, I can assign that debt to somebody else and they can chase you for it. And I have people say, well, I don't have to pay them back. I owe you the money. Well, debts are generally assignable. It's just, depends on how legitimate the debt is. So that's why credit card companies routinely will take the debt that they owe somebody, that somebody owes them, and just sell it. And next thing you know, you're being chased by somebody else. Credit card debts, medical debts, those kinds of things. And if you read the contract, it says, if you don't pay us back, we can assign the debt and someone else can chase you. So that's something that a lot of people don't understand. But the assignability of a contract is quite often the kind of thing that is out there, but people don't understand it. So. Todd Watkins. Did you see the article about the attorney who flipped off another attorney in a virtual case and he got fined $3,000? Yes, I did. I have not done a video on it. I will one of these days if I think it's interesting enough of a story in the grand scheme of things. And, people forget that if you're in a Zoom conference with a judge and the judge said, hey, we're in court right now, you're in court. It doesn't matter if you're doing it over the internet or not. And so if you flipped someone off in court, yeah, you'd get fined. You do it on Zoom in court, yeah, you get fined. So. Florida's Huckleberry, fine him $3,000. Holy cow, that seems a little excessive. The question is, where do those numbers come from? I don't know. It could be $500, it could be $5,000. I don't know. And it makes you wonder where that number came from, but I don't know. Donald Whittemore, I love all caps. Yeah, why not? Tom L., selling off debts is usually an effort to reduce the amount of capital tied up in unpaid debts by recovering part of it. Well, that's some of it. And keep in mind that a lot of financial institutions, whether they're banks or credit card companies, which are lenders of sorts, mortgage companies, and so on, you're right. They have a certain amount of debt on their books and a certain amount of cash on hand. And when those two get out of balance, they worry about it. So if they need more cash, they can sell off some debt. If they're doing okay, they can keep both. And so if the debt earns interest, then, there's going to be a bit about, well, we can earn 5% on this or sell it to somebody for a slightly reduced rate and blah, blah, blah. So it's a whole thing. But yeah, it's interesting. I can tell you that in the old days at common law, a long time ago, there was a big argument about whether or not you could sell a debt to a third party without the permission of the person who was the borrower. And that got resolved, though, because if it wasn't possible, then you'd have all kinds of problems getting people to even lend money to each other. So. Fortis Huckleberry says Steve's show should have 3,000 viewers. Well, I appreciate the thought. We got 459 right now, but this is a holiday weekend, and the Indy 500's on right now. And as I say that, half my audience is going to leave. But J. Paul, are you planning any meet and greets this summer other than the Dream Cruise? I really don't know of any that would be appropriate. I might consider it. I go to car shows from time to time, and I bring my Viper. But if it seemed like, but the problem, of course, is that I'm in Michigan. So if I did a meet and greet, people within driving distance of me who are in this room, for instance, is like 8, 7, something like that. Charles Van Leuven, can you ask for a jury trial on a traffic violation, i.e. a speeding a stop sign or so on? It depends on what state you're in, but most states will tell you that you can get a jury trial for a felony or a misdemeanor and not necessarily a civil infraction. It's just a question of what kind of traffic violation you're looking at. So reckless driving in Michigan is a misdemeanor. You can get a jury on that. Speeding 5 over is a civil infraction. You cannot get a jury for that. I've heard of some people tell me that there are states out there you can get a jury for anything. And that's true. Great. But that's not the case in Michigan. So you'd need to look it up. A lot of people are confused because the Constitution talks about the fact that you're entitled to a jury for pretty much anything over $20. But that has been interpreted over the years to mean a whole bunch of different things. And I believe a lot of that is also has to do with civil lawsuits and so on. So, GSD Maxima, I assume the IRS is not a subject to be discussed here. I've got nothing for or against the IRS. I'm just not sure I saw your question. Did I miss a question? I will admit I am not a tax lawyer, so I don't know much about it. I mean, as far as that goes. But Jack Sparrow is in Metro Detroit. I thought Jack Sparrow was on a boat someplace. MD Hofsty says there's a Grand Rapids Metro cruise the weekend after the Dream Cruise. Is there really? Is it big? It's interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. Shoot me a note and remind me about that. I wouldn't mind driving over to the left side of the state. That's what we say about the GR. Rick R. Hello, Steve, with a hand wave. Hello. Joe Cram, you should find a sponsor to send you to Monterey Car Week. I'd love to go to Monterey. I know people who go there. I have not been there. But one of these years I'll go. A couple years ago, they had a Tucker category at Monterey. And my good friend Mark Lieberman was the judge, which makes sense considering how much he knows about Tuckers. And I felt bad I couldn't make it that year. I'd love to go. One of these days I will. So Savoy Truffle says, hey, Steve, you're way too big for the Viper. You should give it to me. I'll fit just fine. First of all, you don't say I'm big. You just say, hey, Steve, you're too tall for the Viper. I'll buy that. And I'm borderline. I'm 6'2", and I had to have the seats lowered. I just fit. If I get any taller, I will have a problem. Alan, finally get to catch a live show. Fortis Huckleberry, the pit crews have serious skills with those race cars. You got to think back to NASCAR and the early days of the Indy, where they didn't have it down to a science. And it was not uncommon in NASCAR, for instance, at some of the lesser races, where the guys just bring their friends for pit crews. And I know that, like, for instance, when Richard Petty had another guy on his team named Pete Hamilton, some races, the same pit crew would work for both cars. So they get pit stops next to each other, and they just never would come in at the same time. So if Richard comes in a one lap, Pete Hamilton have to go around a few times to make sure that he could come in so that Richard could get out of there. And I interviewed guys who worked on pit crews in the 60s who were paid like $25 a day to travel with the team and pit crew at a race. And you know, jumping over the wall with his big heavy floor jacks and, you know, big cans of gas. And I interviewed a guy who was on Bobby Isaac's pit crew, and he goes, yeah, I caught on fire 3 or 4 times. Somebody's pouring gas and he's down there with an impact wrench taking off lugs, and a spark catches some of the gas that the guy spilled on him on fire, you know. So Rico Kemp, 200,000 subscribers, Steve. Congrats. Keep on rolling. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Rachel Geyer, happy to catch you live. I watch every video you drop twice a day. LOL. Well, most days twice a day. Kyle Otto. Hi, Steve. I like the video of the turbine car firing up. Wondering if they'd stayed with it, if it would have met emissions. Definitely sounds cooler than an EV. Well, the problem also was just the cost of building them. They had the technology to build them, but they didn't have the technology to build them cheaply enough. So, yeah, David Phillips, the real pioneers of the old pit crews. Astro objects or astro objects could be a noun or a verb. Turbine car is awesome. Thank you. I agree. And by the way, I get people ask me all the time, and that is a turbine car. That's a Charger Daytona. That's a Tucker. That's a Viper. So, Uncle Toy, new subscriber and first live chat. Well, thank you. Welcome, my friend. Jerry Ormston, what's your favorite story of the year so far? Oh, I have to think about that. I have to skim through and see them. Every single time I think I've heard them all, I find a new one. The one that went up this morning, where the cop in Opelika, Florida, has been fired 7 times, and he very confidently says, "That's okay. I'll get my job back." You can't fire him. He's unfireable. Alan says, as a Michigan State certified mechanic and Ford senior master, those mechanics that complain rotating wheels and forgetting to tighten one does constitute as a complete repair are wrong. Yeah. And by the way, the mechanics only said that because they kind of had to. The crazier part is that judges agreed with them. Shirley Dutchy, hugs and love, Mr. Lehto. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tigerman 99515. I wonder if you could put a real turbine engine in that model car on your shelf. Be a real small turbine. Real small. RS DEFCON. I've never watched you live before, but I'm stopping by to wish you a happy 200,000 subscribers. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I really do. Birmingham Reefer, what was the price to build a turbine car? Well, here's the thing. Those turbine cars, the bronze ones, cost a fortune because the bodies were handmade in Italy. They had some aluminum body panels, but the real expensive part was the turbine engine themselves. And the turbine engines were each over $10,000 a piece. And that's in $1963. So to have mass produced them would have brought the price down, but it would not have brought it down to compete with the V8 or the typical off-the-shelf piston technology they had at the time. So it just wasn't worth pursuing in that respect. But it's very, very cool. Mark Heil, I thought the cheese selfie story is interesting and funny. That was a bizarre one. The guy takes a selfie of his hand holding the block of Stilton cheese, and they actually can look at the photographs of his fingertips and extract what his fingerprints look like and then match them up to something you have in a database. And that is astounding. Ron Nye, why are you not monetized? I am. Did this video show up as being non-monetized? The channel is, I know that. So, JP, did you ever see what the MPG was in those Turbine cars? They never officially released MPG figures, probably because the way they were driven would have been really bad. And generally speaking, it's not that good unless you take them out on the freeway, get them up to speed, and hold them there. And then it actually becomes pretty good. But even so, it's not going to be that good. And if you put them in stop and go traffic, it's like pouring gasoline on the pavement. It's bad. It's bad. So the upside was you could burn anything, home heating oil, kerosene, diesel. So whatever was the cheapest, you could have actually, I'm going to use this today, I'll use that today. So there were some really cool advantages. But Yee says there's no super chat option. That is correct. I can't bring myself to actually charge people to ask me questions. Ask me a question. If it's a good one, I'll answer it. Well, Bill 57 says turbine electric hybrid. Use the multi-fuel turbine to charge the battery. Yes, that's a great idea, and that's probably what they could have and should have done. So, MD Hofsty says, Steve, I just sent you an email with the link to their site along with when and where the Metro Cruise is. Would like to see you there. I will take a look at that, my friend. If I can fit it in, I'll go. John Ellis, ironically, a turbocharger is practically a turbine engine. Yes, in fact, you can take a turbocharger and, in essence, turn it into a turbine engine. I know people who've done that as just an experiment. But a lot of the same parts are in there. You just got to replumb it, for instance. Leah Schneider says, Stilton, bah, should have gone for stinking bishop, which is a real cheese. That sounds like a bad euphemism. But Keenan Weisenberger says, I got ads in this video. There you go. Someone with a bunch of Cyrillic letters in their name that I can't pronounce says Jay Leno melted some guy's front bumper off in LA at a red light. I know he jokingly said that with respect to his turbine motorcycle, which would make sense because a turbine motorcycle is a whole different thing. But the turbine car's exhaust is not that bad. If you watch the video I shot, I put my hand right in the exhaust to show that it was not dangerous. Rational Bushcraft says Steve takes his payments in T-shirts. I got one yesterday. I do get T-shirts a lot. This, of course, is given me by VinWiki, Ed Bolian. But if you've got a business or a school or somebody you're proud of or something you're proud of, and you send me an XXL, double XL, to the address, the end of all my videos, I'll wear it on camera as long as it's not, something bad. But I can't guarantee it till I see it. But I love schools and I love places. So there you go. Daniel Kester, how's the Viper? I haven't had the Viper out in about 2 weeks, but ran great when I had it out. So there you go. Betty Boop, if you could eliminate one law, what would be qualified immunity or cash seizures? Civil asset forfeiture is one that I would like to do away with. Qualified immunity is another one. And the other one, of course, is the Citizens United Supreme Court case that said that corporations, being people, speak with money. Therefore, you can pour as much money into politics as you want, as long as you're doing it through like these elaborate super PAC things. And suddenly we've got people controlling elections that we don't even know who they are. And that all came about with the Supreme Court ruling, which I disagree with, but that's another story altogether. Ron Nye says, I went to prison for a year for a damn plant. There are a lot of truly innocent people in prison. Yeah, and the sad part is I'm assuming the plant you're talking about is something that's been legalized lately, if that's the one we're talking about. And that's the crazy thing is there's people who have criminal convictions on their records and are also in jail right now for something that is legal in many places, including often where they got arrested and got in trouble. So it's crazy. Atropia veteran says, "Are you a USCG veteran?" No, referring to the U.S. Coast Guard. This is something someone sent in to me. So, I have an immense amount of respect for anybody who served our country in any capacity, and likewise, I was not on the USS Cole, but somebody who was sent me that license plate, so I've got it up. And somebody said, "Steve, Coast Guard," and I said, "Fire it." And so I got the Coast Guard sign. So I get asked that a lot, but it's just something I respect and admire. So there you go. Florida's Huckleberry says, "Watch the documentary on prisons in Finland. Some are considered open prisons." I've seen that. I've at least seen one. Ever in Transit 42 says, "Jay Leno's Turbine bike was a Buell." Well, there's a company that makes Turbine motorcycles that built one for him. I know he's got a bunch of Buells, but I don't know about that particular bike. He's also got 2 Turbine cars. One is the Chrysler Turbine car, like that one over there. I pointed the wrong way. And the other one is the Echo Jet that he had built. That he basically, they got a jet engine and built a car around it. So it's pretty cool. Lindsay Thamert says, "Jay Leno's bike used a helicopter turbo engine, which is why the exhaust was so hot." Well, that and the fact that the bike is only, this long, and the engine's here and the tailpipe ends here. It's only so much piping you can put in there to run the exhaust out of. So if you look at a turbine car, the turbine car is anatomically correct. And so the turbine engine is up here, and the pipes come out here, and you'll notice that they spread out like this, and they go all the way down, go up over the axle, and then out the back. And by the time it gets out here, the temperatures drop dramatically. So it's very, very hot here and not so hot back here. But you don't have that kind of distance that you can work with on a motorcycle. So that's part of the problem. But my friend Mark Lieberman at Nostalgic Motoring is an authorized dealer for those turbine-powered motorcycles. And I shot a short video of him firing one up. Really, really cool. The MTT Y2K Super Bike is what we're talking about. MTT, which I think is Marine Turbine Technology. I could be wrong on the meaning of the MTT, but just look it up and you'll find it. Mark Sparks, again, MTT made the turbine bike. There you go. So, Joe S., where did you get the turbine car toy / or model? I'm not sure where I got that one. Those are all die casts, so they're all heavy duty. I take them out of the box, and I also take them off the stand because I think they look better that way. But they're all readily available. There's a place called Pasteiner's in Birmingham, Michigan, on Woodward Avenue, and they sell car books and car collectibles. And I know that I've gotten at least 3 of those from Pasteiner's. I'm just not sure which one came from which, but Pasteiner's has them, but other people have them. You can probably find them on Amazon even. So, Celeste Kent, will there ever be a time when Detroit makes only electric vehicles? I wouldn't be surprised. This is a question of how soon. So, Steve Hashi, happy 200,000 subscribers. Checking from Vernon, BC. It's sunny and heading for the high 80s this week. Really? Wow. Again, we'll get back to here. Hey, there's Matt Hofste's email. 65 degrees where I am right now, and we're shooting for a high of 68 just today. Hollywood Saint 57. Hey, Steve, absolutely love your channel. with the big flex. Appreciate that. TJ Trout checking in from Broomfield, Colorado. Love your stuff. Indiana native. So the race is on in the background. I understand. Musical Lee, if you couldn't be a lawyer, what career would you do? Do I have to be realistic or not? I would love to be working in radio, but unfortunately, radio does not pay like it used to. But if you said, Steve, pay is not an object, you can just go goof off and have. I'd love to be like an evening disc jockey someplace. That'd be fun. And I've talked about that before. I used to be a disc jockey before I went to law school. So the Benjamin Frank just outside Brunswick, Maine here. Cool. Thanks for checking in. Jack Sparrow car salesman. You have no idea. I could tomorrow go work at a car dealership and teach every salesman on the floor how to rip people off in ways they haven't even dreamed of, because I've seen it all, but I couldn't live with myself. And I've told people that. I could train your salespeople to make more money. I could. I'm not going to. So, yeah, Irving Briscoe, I could be selling Toyotas. The question is whether I'd still do the old hide the keys trick, you know? Oh, boy. Leah Schneider is checking in from Hanover, waiting for the test cricket season to begin on Wednesday. Yeah, cricket's not something Americans understand all that much because it looks kind of like baseball, and I suspect they have a common ancestor. But I've watched cricket, and I understand it less than I understand curling. And I've watched a lot of curling. I still don't understand it. And I know people go, well, Steve, it's just like shuffleboard. I understand that. But when you the points and the scoring and the hog line, no. So, Jalahag, hi from Sweden. I apologize, I'm butchering your name, but I appreciate the fact that you checked in. Hey, Nixels in Duluth, Minnesota / Superior, Wisconsin. Beautiful area. I was up there not too long ago with my canoe back when the storm of the century washed half the Upper Peninsula out to sea. In NoCal, Steve, throw the keys on the roof. Bob Long, ever been to the classic car museums here in Auburn? No, I have not. I need to get down there. The Auburn Cord Duesenberg Museum. Duncan Campbell says baseball comes from cricket. Yeah, I'm saying, but I suspect that even cricket back in the 1800s looked different than it does now, doesn't it? Didn't it? Frederick Heron video killed the radio star. The Buggles, first song on MTV, August 1st, 1981. Margaret Chase's baseball and cricket are very different. Baseball resembles UK girls' game called Rounders. Now, I'm familiar with that, but I'm saying if you follow a lot of these games way, way back, they evolve over time. And I suspect that the idea of somebody throwing something and you whacking it with a bat started, and then the game evolved into a couple of different directions. You got baseball, you got cricket. Rounders I've heard of course. And I believe, and I'm not sure about being a girls' game, because I believe there's people who've played Rounders. I believe playing Rounders, and I think they should bring this back, by the way, is that you could get a runner up by throwing the ball and hitting them with it, beating the runner. And so I think they should bring that back to baseball. I think baseball has gotten too boring. I think baseball games are too long and too slow moving. And I think that they should change just a couple rules in baseball. And one of them is if a runner is running between the bases, if you can hit him with the baseball while he's running, he's out. Now, of course, if you miss him, you got to go chase the ball down. And if it's not the third out, you got to go find the ball and continue the play, because there's other runners. So it would make the game much more interesting to bring back beaning the runner as a way to get the runner out. So, Irving Briscoe, here in some parts of Canada, we play lacrosse. Lacrosse is a really cool game. It never quite caught on in America at the level it should, but I've always thought it's really, really cool. It's it combines a lot of the really cool things. I like hockey. I like soccer, or European football, and lacrosse kind of combines a bunch of those things. I like that. Margaret Chase, you should be able to bean the runner. Yeah, a bean is a nickname for a beanball when you hit somebody with a baseball. Ron Knife, you do that on purpose. It's an instant ejection. Well, under the current rules, it just needs to be changed. That's what I'm saying. Let's pick it up a little bit. Remember, basketball didn't always have a 3-point shot, right? I mean, games can evolve over time. The forward pass wasn't legal in football for the longest time. They had to say, oh, something? Let's do this thing called a forward pass. A forward what now? Wait, what if I drop it? Oh, then you get to try it again. Just loss of down. What? That's stupid. Well, no, trying to make the game more interesting. So, Jack Sparrow, I thought that was the rule. If the runner is touched by the ball, he's out. It depends on whether if it's a batted ball and it touches him, he's out. But if it's a thrown ball, it depends on how it got thrown. But no. I've seen runners get hit by balls all the time, and it's just like anything else in the field. So, Sean Huntley, women's field hockey. Richard Cranium, baseball needs a pitch clock, like a shot clock in basketball. I believe that they have tried to update some of the rules of baseball to speed the game along. And one of them was that they wanted to make the at-bats happen faster. So, for instance, like the guy can't step out of the batter's box in every single pitch and hit his cleats and play with his bat and look around and, do another fancy thing with, they've tried to speed it up, but it's almost like they could do that. LB34 MWR, can you get them to make NASCAR less boring? No. NASCAR is having a hard enough time right now. They keep changing the rules and introducing weird stuff in the middle of the races, and the first half of the race this, and the second it's they lost their way so long ago. I don't even want to go there. So, anyways, I hate to do this to you. I do have something to get to. I'm going to run now, but I appreciate everybody checking in for when you did. We have been here for an hour, though. So I will talk to you again next weekend, same time, same place, as always. And until then, you behave yourself. Bye-bye.